Okay, so I already start recording, and so yeah, let's we can start. Of course, first of all, thank you very much for coming to today's class. Today is our third. Wait a minute. Today is our third Latin class, and this is also our last class in May, and the schedule for June next month is already available in our, how do you say that? You can find it in our, how do you say 公众号? I don't know that. So you will find the information on the internet. Yeah. So actually we can start. And okay, WeChat official content. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So actually, if you don't use WeChat, but probably you can ask your friends about the information of the schedule in June. Okay. So wait a minute. I probably because I actually already forgot what we have talked about last time, but we can take a look together. So actually last time we talked about the cases, right? The cases in the grammar. Wait a minute. Yeah. I think this is I think we talked about this this grammar last time. We talked about the case endings, right? The case endings in Latin. So we actually start from nouns, from nominal, and we talk about several cases in Latin. And also, we mentioned that in Latin we have these cases: nominative, vocative, accusative, and so on, until the eighth one called. Wait a minute. Till the eighth one called the locative. And after that, I mentioned actually in Proto-Indo-European, we have another case called allative, which is well preserved in Hittite as actually as a and also in Greek as a like this. And then we probably have this allative also in Tokhara. Yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but probably you can just keep this in mind that we actually in Indo-European, in Proto-Indo-European, not only these 8 cases, but also a case called allative, which is only preserved in several languages, not all, and sometimes preserved in compound. This is the allative case. Yeah, but pay attention. The names of the cases can be different in different languages. For example, as we can, just like in Greek, a lot of you have already learned Greek, and you know that in Greek system, there are only 5 or 4 cases. I mean, if you include a vocative as a independent case, it's a 5. So it kind of combined several cases together and use the same form to express different meanings. Yeah. 对，就是原始印欧语的话，它还有一个叫 accusative，我不是很确定这个应该怎么翻译。就它表示的意思一般是就是朝向一个东西，大概是这样的意思。对，也可以翻译成向格，对吧？就是它实际上表示的是一种 towards the meaning, the basic meaning of accusative is actually toward. It's a really local kind of how do you say that? It's spatial. The meaning is actually spatial, not how to say. It's something to do with movement. Yeah, something to do with movement. So this is basically the meaning. Yeah. Okay. And then we talk about the cases, which is we start. I think we start from the. Wait a minute. I think we start from the nominative. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is the nominative. We start from the nominative, and I also mentioned that for can I make it a little bit smaller so that I can show you my notes as well. Yeah, so you can see here are just some examples of this nominative. The nominative is pretty simple, and you all know that the how do you say that the most important is the S. So this is actually the 猜想, or how to say that, the sign or mark. Yeah, so S related to connected with nominative. Yeah, and yeah, okay, this is yeah, and we also talk about there are actually two declensions, or you can actually divide the different forms into two parts, namely asymmetric and symmetric. This is basically I mean two categories, asymmetric and symmetric. So the difference is so this sema, of course, you translate in Chinese like 主题, or in English you also have simpac, like a topic, right? But the original meaning is not topic, it's kind of something put there. So you put something in between. In between what? Between the ending, S is the ending, and the stem. So this is actually the something you put there. So it's called semantic. So sema actually means something put inside. You put something inside. So it's like, and asymmetric. So you don't put some, you put nothing inside. A is a negation, so it's nothing. Yeah. So this is the logic. Okay, and then we probably also read a sentence, a very simple sentence from this inscription. This is a very important, famous inscription called Duenos Inschrift, and we also have checked the picture. So it's look like this. So the original one, if we go back to I hope you already you still remember the form of the duenos. So actually I can check it for you. So it's a kind of three parts connected together, and you find the inscription on the pot. So this is a duenos inscription, and you find the information in. So this is the object. Yeah. Okay. And we actually read from here, I guess. So So this is even probably from here. Your, where, sat, and so on. So you can see this is e, this is o, and this is a v, and this is a. Yeah. So this is actually what we have read. Yeah. So this is the beginning. You can find it here. I hope you can recognize, right? I hope it. So this is your, where, sat. So this is year. So here, year, or, where, sat. But it's how do you say that? The direction is upside down. Yeah. Okay. So this is basically, and we will if we according to my plan, I will continue reading this inscription. There are several quite different words. I mean, different from the classical or normal Latin. I mean, normal. I mean, not. Well, I probably should not use normal. I mean, the classical Latin. Yeah, different from the classical Latin. And this is a brief review of what we have done last time. So this is, and now comes to the grammar to today's class. So as always, my class has actually two parts. So the first part is grammar, and the second part is a reading. So it's German words. As I predicted, I will try to use some German words. And then for the grammar, we have two sections. The first section is synchron, and the second section is diachron. Yeah. So synchron is kind of descriptive. I talk about how the grammar looks like. And then diachron talks about the background, the historical background of the grammar. And then lecture, well, I prepared some sentences, but we will check it probably already in the grammar. Okay, so let's talk about grammar probably. Still, we use we use a textbook by Michael Weiss. And we talk about today some general information about the declension. Yeah. So actually, the most important declension in Latin, actually three kinds of declension. First, the first one is the second declension. I know it's a little bit weird, but so we first talk about the second declension. I really don't know why it is called the second declension. Probably if someone familiar with traditional Latin grammar can tell us why it is called the second declension. So the second declension, you have seen, this is an example of the second declension. The very famous word, wolf, lupus, and another also very famous, Phidios. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I noticed that in Greek, it's also the second declension. So it must comes from the Greek grammarian, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so first the second declension, and the second declension in Latin, you find it. The second declension in Latin is always a u, right? So this is actually the nominative singular. Yeah. And then vocative, not quite often. If you can't remember it, it's fine. And then the accusative is lupum. And then this is, lupus is actually masculine. This is masculine. And then this is a neuter. use another word called yugun. And yugun, of course, is a very, how to say that, widespread word in Indo-European languages. So yugun means, I think it means yoke, something like that. To make sure, I can check it. Yeah, zusammengefügt. Yeah, it's. Yeah, sorry, Joch. Yeah, in German it's called Joch. Yeah, it's this word, and you can see that it is has very how to say famous cognates like yuga. Of course, that's not different from. It's different from the yoga. It's yuga. It's yuga, and the Greek called jugon, and Gothic you have yuk, and in Old High German you have juch. So it's pretty famous, and you see that it is it's a neuter, yeah. And then again, the wolf, its dative is called lupo, and ablative is also lupo. It's actually the same, but the background is different. I put it here. So the dative is called lupo, and the ablative is also lupo. And you might have some kind of, if you don't learn Sanskrit, or if you don't learn, well, Greek is not that instructive, but if you know Sanskrit, you will know that they are different. They have different origins. In Latin, they have the same form, but I'm not going to talk about it now. Probably later in our historical part. So they have the same appearance, they have the same form, but the background is different. Or different origins. Okay, and then you have the genitive called lupi. So genitive singular in E is pretty, how do you say that? Peculiar. Can I use this word? Peculiar or special. Yeah, it's kind of a special appearance, and you only find this ending in limited Indo-European languages. And if you learn Greek, you of course, and another important thing, the second declension in U, the second declension in U actually comes from the O original O declension. So that's why in Greek it's also in O, of course. You probably all know that. So also in Greek it's O, but in Sanskrit or in Vedic, in Sanskrit it's R. Yeah. So this is kind of a very basic correspondence between these different declensions. Yeah, not different declension, but this is the same declension, but in different languages. Yeah. So this is Latin. Yeah, so you know that this is Latin, right? This is Latin. So actually, the background or the origin is the O declension, and we all know for the O declension, like in Sanskrit, deva, you of course know that devasya, right? And for Greek, well, I couldn't give a very good example. Plus, probably this this example. Yeah, it's called kalu, right? Yeah, it's called kalu. But in Homeric Greek, you have this form. Yeah, and so on. So this is Homeric Greek. This is in Homer. Yeah. It says it in Homer. Okay, and you know that it is always look like this, right? It's Asia or U or oil and so on. This E is special, and but we are not going to talk about the origin. You have to keep in mind that Latin is not that simple. I always find such comments like on the internet, in the internet, or among the chats with friends, that they think, wow, Latin is so simple compared with Greek or compared with Sanskrit, of course. But actually, Latin is not that simple. It's just like speaking English. Of course, native speakers, I mean, Americans, British people, the England, the native speakers of English, they can speak fluently English. But if you ask them the origin of some words, they probably have no idea. They can, so speaking fluently or using a language, a modern language, quite fluently, does not mean that you know the background. And for the Indo-European linguists, our task is actually to explain the language. So Latin is actually difficult. It has a lot of special changes. Yeah. Okay. So, but for the time being, you don't need to know the origin or know the background, the development, but you have to keep in mind and to kind of to know that Latin is not that simple. Yeah. Okay. And then we talk about, and then we find it, the plural called lupi. And you see genitive, so this is genitive singular, and then this is nominative plural, also in E, right? But again, they are different origins. They're completely different origins. Yeah, I have to say, it's completely different origins of these two forms. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then you have this accusative, which really kind of looks similar, because you have like in Sanskrit, the deva, the plural nominative is called devas, right? Devas, right? And you have this. In Latin, you have lupos, right? Sorry, lupos. Put it here. So it's called lupos. And the Greek form, let's use this kalos. Kalos means actually beautiful. So this is, I assume that you all know the meaning of deva, and also probably some of you the meaning of kalos. It means like beautiful, right? Yeah, and for kalos, the nominative plural is called kalus, right? Yeah. And in some dialects, in some dialect, it actually can write. I'm not sure if kalos is really attested in that dialect, but I just want to tell you that the ending can look like this. It's omega, not ou. So in Greek alphabet, it is written like, so I put the Greek alphabet here. So this is u, yeah, and in Greek alphabet, this is long o, yeah. You can see this actually look quite similar to us or os, right? So yeah, this is kind of well preserved, yeah, form. But then again, you see the dative ablative called lupis. Lupis is again different, right? Oh, it's again the same, but different from our other forms, right? Okay. And then again, the genitive called luporum. It's pretty long, right? Luporum. And you probably, if you like, let's check and we actually talk about this. We have already talked about this genitive plural of deva connected with this plia, and I hope you still have some idea of this compound. Yeah, okay. But today we're not going to talk about this, right? Yeah, okay. So if you compare this devana with Latin, do, po, dum, and you also see it's so different, right? It's like it looks so different, right? This is a num and this is a room, and you can't easily explain this, right? But it's fine. We will talk about it later. Yeah. Okay. And then there's a locative. Okay. Used in the place names. Yeah. Place names for the locatives. Okay. So this is basically the second declension. I'm not sure if there are other examples. This is the example in Sabellic. You find it here. Probably another side remark on the on the convention for the Sabellic. So if you read books dealing with Sabellic forms like Oscan or Umbrian, you find they are written in a bold script or bold font. But you also find sometimes like in normal, not bold, because there are two alphabets used for writing Sabellic languages. So you see this. So if the alphabet is a Sabellic alphabet, so Sabellic language have their own alphabet. So if it is written in native alphabet, namely the Sabellic alphabet, it is transcribed, 就是转写，就是 it's transcribed or like this, use a bold script. But for the Sabellic words written in Latin alphabets, it's just like this, no bold font, no bold script. Okay, so this is this is a distinction. You have to keep in mind. Okay, and it looks a little bit different, right? But still, you can see the correspondence, right? Wait a minute. So this is the, right? This is the is actually the S. So it comes from the S. Yeah. Okay. And then the of course, the normal accusative form, the accusative singular in M. So this is pretty regular. Yeah. Okay. And also you have the neuter also in M. And the dative, ablative, you see that's different. In Sabellic, you will see they are different. But Latin, due to the sound change in Latin, these two forms are identical. But if you check other Italic language, they're different. So the ending, one is an E and the second is a D. This is more, more archaic. Yeah. Okay, and then you see the genitive and also the locative and so on. And also here, yeah, so so this is basically the second declension. You also find it everywhere in the texts, and also you find the forms in the grammar. I'm not going to mention. Not going to read the other grammars, and then as I have told you, it is related to the Greek or stem, anthropos, anthrope, anthropon, and so on. And keep in mind, the Greek has an N for accusative. This is what I have mentioned. So this M comes from the PIEM. This comes from the PIEM, and this PIEM turns to an N in Greek. Yeah, so this is a sound change. Okay. Okay, so this is basically for the second declension, and then we move on to the first declension. Yeah. So the first declension actually has this feminine forms. So the feminine, like femina, I guess you all know that what femina is. Yeah, we also have in English feminine, right? So femina, feminam, feminae, I. Yeah. So again, you see in Latin, it has actually combined, or not really combined, but you see this dative is the same as the genitive, but they go back to different origins, right? And this actually, the reconstruction, probably for you is a little bit complicated, but we can actually now talk about the ending. So one important thing for the first declension is, there's one important thing for the first declension. First declension, that's feminine in R. Yeah, the nominative, the nominative singular had the ending for nominative singular is 0. So you see, there is no S. So the second declension, the second declension is masculine, or neuter, So it's in or, right? And the nominative, nominative singular is S, right? Yeah. Does anyone know why? Why second declension has an S in singular, but first declension has 0? Does anyone have any idea? You can just guess. Yeah. The first question，要我用中文说一遍吗？就是第一变革的时候，第二类变革，我们刚才讲的第二类变革嘛，就是那个狼那个词，还有儿子那个词，那个lupus，还有 filius， 它的那个主格单数都是 s， 希腊语和梵语也都是一样，都是 s， 对吧？但是呢，第二变革的时候，又说错了，是第一变革，就是阴性啊这个变革，那梵语的话就是 deva， 对吧？不 ，Davi 是不一样的。那比如说梵语的话，可能是卡尼亚，就是有一个这个词，对吧？我忘了是这么写吧？我有点记性不是很好，对。对吧？就是卡尼亚这个女儿这个词，卡尼亚，它的那个主格也是 zero， 就是它的主格，就是所以说第一类 feminine 它的主格是 zero， 就是没有任何结尾。OK， 有人举手啊 ，OK， 好，yeah， should I wait a minute， should I wait a minute， do you want to speak, or I mean I can audio. Yeah, you can speak now, if you want, or you prefer typing. You can actually speak. No, they are Well, so you say that first one is asymmetric. First one is asymmetric. Okay, yeah, and asymmetric. Take a look. We already have this asymmetric, right? Let's go back to the Latin class last time. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is asymmetric, right? So what is the nominative of king? Called lakes, right? So it comes from a lake plus s, and this is asymmetric, right? Okay. So it has nothing to do with asymmetric or symmetric. Does anyone have other ideas? No, it's also, there's actually no, you see, strong and weak means that the stem changes, right? But check the declension of Deva, check the declension of Carlos, the stem does not change. Yeah. So strong and weak form, well, I write it here, wait a minute. Strong, weak. This is a concept. Strong and weak form. It refers to the stem, right? So the stem changes. The stem changes, and then it has strong or weak form. But you can check it here. This is ending. Right. This is the correct answer. Thank you. Yeah, Thank you, Mr. John. So this is actually the reason why, for the first declension, we don't have an ending, because this is already the ending. This is the ending. This is historically, this is the ending. This is the ending. Historically. Yeah. That's why we don't have this. We don't have S, right? Yeah. So this is already the ending for the collective plural. Okay, so this is actually the origin of the feminine in A. So, and I already mentioned several times in Hittite, actually in Hittite, only neuter, neuter and common gender, right? Yeah. So common gender means masculine plus feminine. Yeah. Okay. So actually, in Hittite, there are only two categories: neuter and common gender. And probably from the common gender, we have this feminine and masculine. And feminine is actually the collective of neuter. Okay, so this is the explanation. Okay, so you basically have also have an idea of the feminine declension, right? So femina, there's no S. It's different from the lupus or filius. It's femina. And this femina originally comes from A, you see. So this A is shortened at the end in Latin. So this A is shortened. Yeah, okay. And then this feminam and feminae, and this is also shortened. Yes. Okay. Okay. So actually, you don't need to memorize all the forms. You can just keep them by your side, just like for Sanskrit and also for Greek. You can just write it on a notebook, or you can just, yeah, I mean, the important thing is that you know where to find the information. It's actually, once, it's probably, you already noticed that I myself sometimes forget something, sometimes probably a lot. So, and especially when you learn Indo-European linguistics, there are actually too many forms to memorize. And well, sometimes it's really easy to forget something, right? So the logic is more important. You need to know the logic. So for this one, as I mentioned, you need to know that for the first declension R, the nominative singular is 0 because the origin is kind of the collective plural. I write it here, collective plural. This is kind of collective plural. Then we don't have an ending for nominative. Yeah. And then for other second declensions, this is S. So this is okay. Yeah, this is probably for the first declension. And then you probably you also find it. This is a form in Oscan. You see, this is view and vian, deviai, deviat. So again, you see dative and ablative are different. Yeah, here is also dative, ablative are also different, right? This is great. But dative and genitive are the same, right? Dative is I and genitive is I. But like if you check this, check the Oscan form, dative is I and genitive is us. So this S reminds you again of the genitive, right? So I also, I assume that you also know that S can function as the ending of genitive, right? Like also in English, someone's, right? Yeah, someone's, the S, yeah. And then locative. And then, you know, this view goes back to the long A, and this long A at the end becomes a U in Oscan, yeah, okay. And it is shortened in Latin. So it's kind of different sound changes, okay. Okay, so this is basically for the, in Latin, nominative, plural, dative, singular are the same ending. Nominative, plural, and genitive singular, here. Genitive singular and nominative plural are the same for the old declension. And then for the, for the feminine, for the feminine, you're right. So for the feminine, I, and so on. Yeah. So you can see that in Latin, actually, several forms and several case forms are the same. Yeah, it's well due to the sound changes in Latin. Okay. But I'm not going to talk about it now, but we need to move on. Okay, so let's talk about the third declension. In Latin, there's something important. This is what we are going to talk about today. So the third declension is actually in Latin, the third declension is a mixture of the consonant stem and the E stem. So I write it here. This is very important. So Latin third declension is actually consonant stem plus E stem. So it's a mixture of these two stems, yeah. And consonant stem, you will have it you have it everywhere, I think, in the Indo-European language. You have in Greek, you have it also in Sanskrit. Of course, you have it in Latin. And the Latin third declension is actually a mixture of the consonant stem and the E stem. And we will talk about why. Yeah. So first we look at this one. It's called mides, midites, and miditi, midit. So this is this is soldier word. Yeah, the word for soldier, and also you have other words like the lakes and so on. So you see, this is actually the stem called midis. This is millet, millet, and millet, and then you put the ending here, right? Yeah, put the ending here. And what I'm going to talk about today is actually the plural form. Yeah, so I put it here. This is actually our topic today. I'm going to talk about the history of the nominative, talk about the plural form. So the plural nominative is S, right? And the accusative plural is also S, right? It's also S. You find it here, yeah, of course. And also, if we check, wait a minute. And this is also the third declension, another word called genus or origin or race. And you find it here, geneha, this is neuter, corpora, this is also neuter, and iquo, the surface of the sea, from the word for water. Yeah. So as we have already seen, it comes from the how do you say? It comes from the consonant stem, and this R, there's another. So this is basically for the masculine. Yeah. And then for the neuter, you have a nominative equals accusative, and plural, it's A. So again, it comes from the how do you say that, the collective, the neuter collective. So its collective is also in this H2. Yeah. So this is long A. Yeah. Originally it's a long A and it got shortened. Yeah. Okay. And then we talk about this one. You find it also in grammar. If we check the Wheelock, I guess you probably all or most of you know the grammar, the Wheelock's Latin, right? So for the Wheelock's Latin, you also find the forms of the third. Wait a minute, make it a little bit bigger. So you also find the forms of the third declension here. I think it's chapter chapter 7, right? Yeah, chapter 7 is about the third declension nouns, and you find it like for the plural called leges, and also for the accusative, it's also called leges, right? And also for the man word called homines, and accusative also called homines, right? It's also the same. And we also find it in, wait a minute. We also find it in the adjectives. Yeah, you can, today we just focus on the nominative plural, accusative plural, and I also know that you can see that it's called ace, right? But pay attention, there's a sentence called, like e-stem nouns, third declension adjectives have an alternate is ending in the accusative plural, but it will rarely be used in this book. So it tells us we have another ending called is, but rarely used, yeah, for the accusative plural, right? Accusative plural. Okay, and then let's probably move on to another grammar. Wait a minute. I think it also mentions this. Okay, but it's fine. It's already enough. So we find it in the grammar that accusative plural not only in s but also in is, right? Okay, so let's probably move on to the reading. Let's check it in the text, in the real text. First, I find a sentence. It's a pretty simple sentence. Actually, the words probably if you don't know Latin, you know the sentence. Even if you don't know Latin, you will probably get the idea. So the sentence is called this one, called centum urbes habitant magnas. Centum, of course, you know probably. It's 100, 100, right? So this is the translation, yeah. So dwell in 100 great cities. So urbes means city. Urban, it's English urban, right? So I write it here. As I explained, if you don't know Latin, it's fine. You certainly know this word. And urbis, it's urban, it's English urban, and habitant is English habit or habitation, or yeah, it's like this. Habitant. In English, we also have like habitant, right? It means the people living there, habitant. And then magnas, you probably also know that it's great, yeah. Sorry, Canton. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So it's magnificent, right? Magnificent. It's right? Magnificent. So actually, you all know these words. There's no difficulty. So the meaning is that Canton is 100, and urbis is the city, and habitant is dwell or live. So habitant is so I just get rid of the English. You all know that. So I get rid of this. So this is 100. It's fine. And this is cities, right? And then this is they dwell. So it's third person singular. So this is third person singular ending. Yeah, third person singular. Oh, third person plural, sorry. Third person plural. I mistake. So this is great. And then so this is actually the accusative plural, right? Accusative plural means great or big, right? So great big cities. And this must also be the accusative plural, right? Urbis. And then let's turn to another text. And this is actually the Loeb edition. Let's check the edition in, yeah, so this is actually the edition. This is a critical edition. Let's check the title. I guess you all have this PDF. I already sent it to the to our group chat. So this is a standard or one of the best editions of Aeneas by Vedic, and it is the textual. It is the critical edition, and let's check it. This is in third book. Sorry, this is in third book, and line 106. Yeah. So Canton urbes habitant magnas. So it's pretty great. We have it also in the text, also in the critical edition. But The advantage of the critical edition is that it tells us more information about the words, about the history. So let's check the textual edition. Let's check the apparatus, the commentary here. It's called Urbis, right? You see, I read it here. So this is important. Highlighted here. So it says that in this manuscript, P, it is written in P manuscript. Manuscript. It's Urbis. Yeah, and then there's another author, and he commented. He made a comment on this form. So in the third book of Aeneas, Urbis. So they say Urbis. So Dixit means he says, yeah, he says Urbis, and with this a littera, so with a vowel, with a letter, and canton Urbis. So it means that P is preserved in one manuscript called P, but an ancient author says that, well, in this place, we have a, and it should be Urbis. Okay, so this is one sentence, and we check another sentence, and then we make a stop. So this is one sentence, and then let's check another sentence. So this one is another work by Vedic. It's called Georgics. It's about agriculture or something like this. Yeah. So in this one, we have this sentence. Sorry, here we have this sentence. Yeah. So the meaning is that you choose to watch over cities and care for our lands. So Velis cura terrarum que. So here, so we have another word. We have another current example of Urbis, right? It is also written as Urbis. And then let's check the critical edition of this work, which I also sent to our group chat. Check it. In the critical edition, it's written Urbis. So in Georgics, it's written Urbis in the critical edition. So let's summarize the information here. So so the situation in Aeneas Urbis in critical edition, right? But in the apparatus, so this is recorded in apparat, 就是教刊记，中文叫教刊记 apparatus. It's noted that in P manuscript we have Urbis, right? And another work by Vedic called Georgics, Urbis in critical edition, right? This is Urbis ne inuisere. And let's check the critical. Oh, let's check the apparatus. It's really tricky, right? Urbis ne prog liber manu ipsius correctus. So it is corrected by the same hand, right? But in this manuscript, Urbis ne these letters are all abbreviation are names of the manuscripts. But in other manuscripts, in M manuscript, manuscripts. It's Urbis, right? It's Urbis. Yeah. And according to the meter, we actually know it's a long A, it's a long E, it's a long A, it's a long E. That's not an issue. Yeah. And then probably let's move to the manuscript. So the first manuscript, I also send it to you. So this is a manuscript of Aeneas, Aeneas book 3, line 106. So this is actually the M manuscript. I probably should go back first to the information. So we talk about the manuscript, and M is the abbreviation for this manuscript. This manuscript, P is this manuscript called Vaticano Palatinus, Latin, 1631, and M is called this one. And actually, if you search it in Google and you find the manuscript, I just copy this manuscript name number, and you find it in this website. It's actually the Vatican library. They have digitalized a lot of manuscripts. So this is actually one of them. So if you go to the library yourself, you just type in this abbreviation. So actually, they have a how to say that? They have a reading room, and you enter the reading room, and there's a computer there. So you put this number par lat 1631, and you search, and you find the item, and then you click demand. You ask for this manuscript, and then you wait like 10 to 20 minutes, and they will bring the manuscript to you. So this is actually the number of the manuscript in the Vatican library. And then this is actually very great, and you have the content here. Like this is their Georgica, and then this is Aeneas. So you click it, and then we'll jump to the place. So also, and then another point. So this manuscript is pretty early. It's, check it, it's in 500. So it's pretty early, right? About, yeah, it's 500 years. AD, of course, after Christ, yeah. And then let's check the manuscript reading. So you see, this is Urbis Habitant Magnus, right? So you find it. So do I need to put the text here? So it is. It's broken, right? But this is tum. This is cantum, and this is Urbis. This is Urbis, right? And this is habitant, and this is Magnus, right? And then stop. So you find it also in P. Here, actually Urbis, right? This is Vatican. So this is Palatino. Yeah, this is Palatino Latin 1631. This is 500 years, so it is pretty early. And so before we make a stop, this is my question. Which one is older? Which one is older? So I leave the manuscript here. Yeah. One is Urbis, two is Urbis. So first choice, Okay, well, let's make a stop and you can think about it. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So which one is older? Yeah. Urbis or urbis? Okay. Yeah. Let's make a stop and I stop recording. Stop recording. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So actually this one is the older form. This is the older form. Urbis and urbis. Why? Because this is actually the E stem, right? So this is the third declension comes back to the E stem, right? So this is the E stem. And for the E stem, just like the O stem, so it's similar. Similar to O stem. For the O stem, I'm writing PIE, right? So this is PIE. Sorry, this is PIE. And for accusative plural, we also, oh sorry, wait a minute. So accusative singular is M, right? So this is accusative singular. And the accusative plural actually goes back to M plus S. And M plus S turns already to NS. It already becomes NS because S is actually a dental. So the reason is that S is a dental sibilant. 就它是一个齿的齿齿音，对。So then M is actually a labia, right? So M is actually labia, but N is a dental. Yeah. So kind of assimilation. MS becomes NS. And this development is already in Proto-Indo-European time. So that's why I put 2 stars here. So 2 stars means a step even earlier, and we can reconstruct. Yeah, but already in Proto-Indo-European time, it becomes an NS. Yeah, so this is yeah, it's just a similar like I just write something similar here. So it's just like the pater, right? Sorry, pater, father in Greek. This also goes back to a ter. Of course, goes back to ter, but ter goes back a little bit even further to S. So ters becomes ter because of the Ersatzdehnung, right? I assume that you know the German word Ersatzdehnung. Okay. Okay, and then so that's why. So this is actually the logic. The accusative plural is actually NS. So S can also have the function of plural, right? You also like in English, right? Something, and then you put an S, it's a plural, right? Okay, so for the O stem, it should look like this, right? And then it turns to Greek. It's for example in Greek, it's os, right? In Greek, it's os. Also, Ersatzdehnung is 2 consonants to a single consonant. 2 consonants, NS to a S, with compensatory lengthening, right? Okay, and then it's also Vedic, like us, right? Because os goes to, sorry, I should probably write a step further. Like something like this, right? And also to os. And also in Greek, you find the form called us, because u is another way to represent a long o in Attic in Attic Greek， 就在阿提卡方言里面，就是希腊语的那个，我们上周老师课，就是阿提卡方言里面，它是用 o u 这种双写，就 o u 这两个字母来表示一个长音的 o。Okay, so this is the logic, and then let's check the e. So let's check the e stem. E stem is just like this, right? So you can guess. Yeah, it's the same logic. So that's why it's like in Latin, it's es. So this is the basic form. Okay, and then let's talk about the nominative singular. Nominative plural. So nominative plural, as I have told you, the e stem. Okay, so first question, yeah. Another question, yeah. Pay attention. Is nominative plural a strong form or a weak form? Which form? Nominative plural, strong form or weak form? Great. Yeah. Nominative plural is strong form. And then the second question. Accusative plural, weak or strong? Accusative plural. Weak. Yeah. Great. Accusative, so this is strong, right? And this is weak. Great. This is the reason why we use a e. This is a stem. This is a stem. Weak. Then we use e as a stem. And for strong, what should we use? We should use a, right? This is a stem for the strong form. Okay. Okay, welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And then this is a stem. And what is the ending for nominative? Sorry, ending for nominative plural? It is s, right? It is s. Yeah. So we have the stem here, and we have the ending here. So what should the nominative plural look like for the e stem? It should look like this, right? It should look like this. This is a theoretical form for the nominative plural. So the logic is, I just repeat again. So you need a stem. You need kind of how do you say it? Yeah, the stem. And nominative plural is strong form. So you need a stem in guna. So if you put it in Sanskrit grammar terminology, it's actually a guna. It's actually a guna form. Yeah. Okay. So this is the stem, and then this is the ending, s, and then you have it like I should write it in this way. Yeah. Okay. And then this is the y sound, and this y sound disappears in Latin. I'll write it here. So y turns to yeah. Okay, and then we have like s, right? And then of course it goes to a s. So this is the logic for s, nominative plural, and this is a logic for accusative plural. This is accusative plural. I hope it's clear, right? It's a little bit complicated, but you have to know the logic. You have the stem, E stem, and then you have the ending. You just put them together. So that's why is a original form, but it is replaced by s. Yeah. So this is so this is the explanation. And actually, in manuscripts or in inscriptions, you still find you still find how to say that? There's actually a paper by wait a minute. There's actually a paper called the accusative plural in is or as or s in Vedic. So it's a paper in 1953, about 70 years ago. So he just discussed in great detail the distribution of is, as, and s in Vedic. So you can see in the text, there's always the old and younger forms together. So in text, coexistence of older and younger forms. It's always like this, you find it. Yeah, okay. Okay, we already talked about these cases. I'm not sure if I can kind of say something more. Probably we can talk about. We can let's check the information in the Latin ancient Latin grammatic by Varro. Varro is a very famous Latin grammarian, and he's pretty old. But I forgot the exact date, but he's pretty old. And he noticed a lot of these differences or a lot of these special cases in his grammar. For example, this one, chapter 3766. Actually, we can read the English here. So, if regularity existed, they say, no case ought to be used in two forms. So it means that actually you should have consistent writing for a specific form, right? You cannot say that, well, this one is right, another one is also right, we can use both. But strictly speaking, for a specific case, you use a specific form, right? Okay. But the opposite is found to occur. For example, and he used such examples, and also he noticed this case. Wait a minute. Check it. He noticed that in the accusative plural, mountains can be. This is a mistake. This is a mistake here. So for mountains, you can check the Latin. In accusandi, hos montes fontes and hos montis fontes. So already, I mean, the grammarian have noticed that there's a how to say that, not really exchange, but kind of vexer. Yeah. I don't know how to translate it. It's kind of a how to say that, auf Deutsch. Like there's a vexer or coexistence. Okay, wait a minute, right? Yeah, so there's actually a coexistence of these two forms. Montes, is and the s, yeah. But already you find it in the Velox Latin, yeah, as I have shown you before. actually it consistently use the same form, S, right? But historically, it is not true. But in our texts, you already find the tendency. You already find the tendency to use the same form. Yeah, use the same form. And this is also the reason why I recommend you to always check the critical edition, not the, how do you say that? Not the lobe. The lobe is pretty easy to use, convenient. But if you want to really study the text, you need to check the critical edition. I mean, this one. You need to check the critical edition. Wait a minute. And in the critical edition, you have such information in the apparatus, like this, right? In some manuscripts. And for some manuscripts, you can even find the digitalized. You can also find the digitalized, and it is pretty clear with higher resolution. It's pretty good. You can also check the manuscript yourself. It's okay. Yeah. So this is actually everything I want to talk about today. It's a pity that we haven't read a lot, but as I already said, it's a long-term course, so we still have time, right? Okay. So so before we stop, let's make a brief summary. So today we talk about first the grammar, and we introduced the 3 declensions in Latin, right? The 3 declensions, the 3, wait a minute. So we talk about the 3 declensions, right? And the first declension is the U. In Latin it's U, but originally it goes back to O and preserved in Greek as O and in Sanskrit as a R. And we checked the different case forms, like in nominative singular, it has an S. That's really important. In nominative singular, it's S, and the accusative singular, it's a M. And this M turns to an N in Greek. Okay. And then we also checked the dative and ablative, and mentioned they have the same appearance, but they have different origins. Yeah. Okay. And the different origin, you can find it in Sabellic language. Here, dative is E, and ablative is D, right? So it's actually just like the Sanskrit. The Sanskrit can end in I or A, right? Yeah. And art, right? Yeah. It's actually like the Sanskrit. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then the second, then the first declension. The first declension is actually the feminine in R, and actually I highlighted. Okay, and the genitive singular for the U for this declension is really special. But the explanation we can talk about the historical explanation of this E later in our course. But now you can just memorize it. It's an E and it's a special form. Okay, and then we talk about the first declension. The first declension and the second declension. There's a very important difference. For the second declension, the nominative singular is S, but the first declension, the nominative singular is 0, like in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, it's kanya, because this is originally a collective plural, and H2 is actually the ending. So there's no need to put another ending after the ending, right? You can't use 2 endings, right? So this is already the ending historically. Okay. And then we talk about the third declension in Latin. And third declension in Latin is actually a mixture of consonant stem and E stem. And we talk about two forms in particular, nominative S, accusative S in classical Latin, and also you find it in your grammar. But already in Wheelock Latin, you find the information here. It says that it has an alternate "-is" ending in the accusative plural, but it will rarely be used in this book. And then we read a very short sentence, and all the words you already know: cantum urbes habitant magnas. So they live in the 100 big cities. And then we checked the critical edition, and it has a very interesting distribution. Why? Because in Aeneas, for urbes, it is S in critical edition, but in apparatus, it mentions that it's written "is." But Georgics, it's opposite. In critical edition, it is written "e," but in manuscript, it's written in "e." And then we talk about the historical we talk about the background, the origin. And we know that "is" is actually the older form because "is" goes back to "e" plus "uns," and "e" plus "uns turns to "is." This is a compensatory lengthening. For someone who do not familiar, compensatory lengthening, right? Yeah. So this is compensatory lengthening. Okay. And we have the similar form in Greek, also in Vedic. Okay. And then the nominative plural, it goes back to this form because it is a strong form. So we need to use a guna. We need to use a guna form, a stronger form. Sorry, a stronger stem, right? E, yeah, the strong form of E is A, or the guna form of E is A, and then we use the ending S. So we have this AS and then to S. So this is a regular nominative plural. And then in later stages, this nominative plural replaces the accusative singular, which is pretty, how do you say that? Yeah, happens a lot. I mean, the replacement, yeah. Okay, and then we highlighted the fact that actually in the texts, you always find the coexistence of older and younger forms, like this urbis and ubis. Yeah. Okay, so this is everything for today. Thank you so much for your attention until now. I myself a little bit a little bit tired. Yeah, probably you all have a little bit. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. I hope it's kind of interesting for some of you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we will see each other next week. So the next meeting would be Tuesday, because Monday, no, Monday is a holiday. Monday is a holiday in Germany, so there's no class. So we will meet on Tuesday. Okay, so I put it here, highlighted. Wait a minute. So Monday, June 1st, holiday. Okay, so there's no class. So see you on Tuesday, next Tuesday. Okay, so have a good week, have a nice weekend, and enjoy the rest of the day. Okay, bye-bye.